Hey everybody, it's Anzel again and I'm back. And today we'll be taking a look at a new budget keyboard, the Keychron Q2. Now as a quick disclaimer, as always, this board was sent to me by Keychron for free for review. However, all the thoughts in this video are all my own. They're not paying me to say anything, they've only given me the keyboard for review. Now with that being said, let's move on to the actual people that are actually paying me something to say something about them. PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop shop for PCB design and keyboard prototyping. From PCB fabrication to 3D printing to CNC milling, PCBWay has it all. And from the 27th of January to the 7th of February, PCBWay will be celebrating the Chinese New Year with sales and deals to come. So make sure to stop by PCBWay for your keyboard prototyping and electronic needs. Now, let's get back to the video. So the Keychron Q2 is the logical follow-up to Keychron's previous board, the Keychron Q1. Based on this keyboard alone and from what I've seen about the Q1, this keyboard fixes all of the issues that everyone had with the Q1, which is proof that Keychron is listening and is willing to make better keyboards over time. So big ups to you, Keychron, keep it up. So the Keychron Q2 is a 65% gasket-mounted in-stock keyboard that comes in at around $150, $260 for bare bones, and $160 to $170 fully built with keycaps and switches. Great value if you ask me. In the box you get some manuals, you get the board, a keycap puller, a garbage switch puller, and a cable. It's not coiled, but I honestly prefer it this way as most companies tend to screw up the coil. The Q2 also has a CNC'd aluminum case with an anodized finish. It is hot swappable, has south-facing sockets, is available in both ANSI and ISO layouts, has QMK/VIA support, and is compatible with both Mac and Windows. Now just to be clear, it's technically not going to switch between a Mac and a Windows mode. That switch on the back is just for changing the layers, and you can change the layers as you want, but yes, it's not just like a Mac keyboard. When you switch it over, it just has a different layout that you can totally change whenever. Now regarding aesthetics, admittedly, I think this board is pretty darn nice. I mean, look at it. It has really thick bezels, it has a bit of a spacious look given the exploded arrow key and nav key layout, and the side profile is pretty decent too. It uses the hanging ledge style that you can also see in other keyboards like the GMMK Pro, so it gives it a bit of a seamless look. The finish, however, could be better. The shininess I don't really like. The anodization quality, also not that great. It looks super grainy. On the back, you get a lot of that granularity, especially when you hold it up to light. The chamfered edges look really rough, and even though they don't feel rough, they just look rough. And I'm just not a fan of that. I wish they kept the finish from the Q1. Regarding the back of the keyboard, I'm not a fan of how you can already see the screws in the back, but that is preference, and you're not going to see them that often anyways, so bit of a toss-up here. Now going back to those arrow keys and that nav keys, it's using an exploded layout instead of the typical compact layout. I think this is a good choice as it makes it look a little bit unique compared to other keyboards in the market, but I don't like the fact that they use 3 1U modifier keys on the right hand side. I think this conflicts with the spacious design elements, and I don't know, I think they should have just stuck to the 1.25U keys, but again, this is preference and it gives users a little more functionality than normal. I just think that it's a bit conflicting in terms of design philosophy, but whatever, not a big deal. Next in aesthetics is the knob. I thought I wasn't gonna like it, but screw it, I actually kind of like it now. At first, I just thought it was really ugly because it had that little square inseam or layout or whatever. It has that little square on it, right? Because it wants to be compatible with other switches, or you can throw in your own badge. However, I think it plays really well into that boxy aesthetic that the board is really trying to achieve. And the knob itself is pretty nice. It's metal, feels good to turn, has really nice well-defined clicks as you turn it, and you can press it too for some extra functionality. Again, this is also configurable in QMK and VIA, so do whatever you want with it. I'm just gonna leave it to volume. Now, as for assembly, it's super simple and everything that you could possibly need to mod this board and open it up is included inside the box. So thank you, Keychron. So the assembly utilizes hex screws on the bottom of the case. There's a JST cable connecting the PCB to the daughter board, which is always appreciated. But if they are using a daughter board, it would have been nice to see them go with a center USB cutout rather than on the left side. Regardless, it's nice that it's there, and it's very, very important to detach it carefully before separating the board assembly from the case. Now, the board is utilizing what Keychron calls a double gasket design. Highly misleading. First off, technically, tapped isolation gaskets aren't really gaskets. It's just a misnomer that the community created and ran with, but we're here now, so we're gonna keep using the word gasket. But regardless, second pair of gaskets that this board is referring to is the force break mod that was created by Keyboard. It's these silicone pieces inside of the case that create an extra layer of isolation and prevent further vibration transfer from the top of the case to the bottom of the case. And there are also these rubber covers on the alignment pins to prevent further contact between assembly pieces. And again, while this implementation of the quote-unquote double gaskets is an A+ move in my book, I think it's misleading to refer to it as such. It attempts to make the board seem more premium while really it's just taking one of the community mods of the board, specifically keyboard, and not even crediting him. I get it. They're a company trying to use as many marketing buzzwords as possible, so this thing isn't exactly surprising. But again, it would have been nice to see keyboard get some credit. One thing I have to mention are these screws that hold the PCB and plate assembly together. I thought that I could just remove these to even out the typing experience and soften it up a bit, but I found that some switches stayed loose no matter what I tried. I'm pretty sure that if you remove that thick plate foam, you could remove these screws and remove the hot spots altogether, but if you do use the plate foam, and yes, the plate foam does help the sound, then you need to be using the screws. Bit of a bummer, but not the hugest issue. I think the typing height is a little high. I'm used to that and I don't need a wrist rest for that, but a lot of you might need one, so keep that in mind. But the typing angle itself is very, very comfortable. It looks to be around 5 to 6 degrees, which I think a lot of people would like. So I think it's very comfortable to type on, and that low typing angle kind of mitigates that high front height. Now in regards to flex and bounce, very little, not a whole lot going on here. You can kind of get it if you press really, really hard on the PCB, but other than that, I don't notice it at all when I'm typing. The plate is stainless steel, 3 times stiffer than aluminum. I can feel that. And then you got screws holding all together, making it even more stiff. Not exactly flexible. It's not a bad thing. Again, this is preference, but if you're looking for a flexible and bouncy typing experience, this isn't exactly it. And I would have loved if Keychron included some more plate options. I get that this is trying to be more accessible to a lot of people, so this is kind of to be expected. So what about sound? I think this board sounds pretty good, even stock. The stabilizers sound great. The spacebar is a little iffy. I had to add a little bit of lube on there, but after that, it sounds not too bad. Now I ended up adding some polyfill in there. I thought that the polyfill deepened the sound a little bit, made it a little bit rounder and full, and got rid of a little bit of hollowness, that tiny bit of hollowness that the board had. And what does it sound like? It sounds like a gasket mounted keyboard and foam. Neither of those are bad things. I actually quite like that. Even though it sounds like foam, it doesn't sound overly dense like a lead brick. Again, even if it did sound like a lead brick, that'd not be a bad thing, but I think the way it sounds now appeals to a wider audience, with or without polyfill. So yeah, it's a good sounding board and I think a lot of you will like it. But with that being said, let's go through a couple of typing tests. Now in the description below, I have a link to this massive sound test I did with like 8 different configs, but here I'm just gonna show you a few of my favorites, and let me know what you think in the comments below. So overall, I think this is a pretty good board, especially for the price. It's not as good as some higher end keyboards, and honestly, with the Bakkai Neko 65 being on the market, I personally might prefer the Bakkai Neko, but otherwise, go for this board if it's in your price range. Like, seriously, it's cheap. You can get a full kit for $180. That's cheap. Like a full kit for $180 and sounds really good without any modding, that's good. That's accessibility, and I think we need more of this. So Keychron, this is what we need in the hobby, and I hope you keep it up. Of course, it's not a perfect board. I don't like the fact that we have those hotspots while typing. I'm not a fan of the fact that they called it double gaskets, but overall, this board is a complete improvement over the Q1, and Keychron, keep listening to your consumers, keep listening to the community, and I'm sure you'll put out another banger soon. Also consider Bakkai Neko 65. I love gummy O-ring. It's my jam. I love that. But that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope to see you next time, and I hope all of you have a great day.